Hey guys, welcome. It's Marcy, the Cranky Crafter. It's Fodder Friday. If we've made it this far, it's Friday, and that's going to be great. I'm recording this ahead of time, so I'm giving, in the future, Marcy, a pep talk about making it through another week of learning things at work. If I've made it till Friday, then that means I've done a good job. So, Fodder Friday this week. I've had a few requests, or rather just some ideas, because I've been asking you guys if you have ideas. And I've had a few requests for chickens. And so if you don't know me or don't know me well, I love chickens. I have chickens in my backyard. I have 8 chickens. Am I supposed to have 8 chickens? No, but don't tell anybody, okay? All right, great, thanks. So we're going to do some very, very simple watercolor chickens today. I have my water. I have a palette that's mixed up. You can do these in any color you want, but I'm going to do kind of like these earthy tones. It's like a rusty orange, a dark green, and like a mustardy yellow. But you know, use whatever colors that you like. I have my 8 round, and then I also have my 6 round. We're going to use the smaller one for a little bit of the, I don't want to call it details because it's not really overly detailed, but for the finer bits. And a black pen, because you know I always love to sketch around my around my watercolors with black pen. Okay, so today's watercolor chickens have been strongly influenced by a gal on, I don't think she's on YouTube, but I've seen her occasionally on Instagram maybe. And her channel is called Beck and Rose, and that's where I got the inspiration from these chickens from. She is much like 100% artist, not like my level at all. So I went with the very basic ones that I saw pop up on her channel, but she does amazing work. Anyway, these are the little chickens that we've got, and you can make them, you know, kind of where it looks like they're pecking at the ground. These I've fussy cut, and you can see, you get to decide like how closely you want to get to their feet. This is the first time I've actually fussy cut them out. In the past, I made kind of like a spread in my watercolor journal. Let me see if I can grab it and I can show you. And I didn't even give them like toes in my watercolor spread. So I suppose you don't have to give them little feet. You could just give them legs if that's easier to cut around. So like I said, this will be the first time that I've done them to cut out. This is just, you know, for my sketchbook, or you could make this on your watercolor paper and totally frame it. In fact, I made something like this for my cousin and sent to her. And she has it framed somewhere in her house. But I will link the artist's, I think, the Instagram page. I'll look and see if she has YouTube, but I don't know if she does. And I'll put it down in the description. So what we're going to do, I've already activated my paints. My palette, my mixed palette is already good to go. But I'm going to add a little bit more water to this other over here. And I'm going to start with my 8 round. There's going to be kind of 2 stages to this. We're going to make like all of the bodies first, and then we want that to be completely dry, and then we'll come in and do the rest. At least that's how I do it. You might find a different, you know, method to your madness when you jump into this. But you're not going to know unless you get in and play, right? Okay, so let's go. I've got like a green color. Couldn't tell you what color it actually is, because really you choose the color that you like. And what we're going to do is basically make half circles. You can make the half circle as, you know, plump or as slender. You can make it pointing down. You'll see as we go along how you orient it on your paper is kind of going to be how the bird ends up looking when we add in all the rest of the stuff. So let's do this one. We'll just start with the basic. It's basically like a half circle, or it also reminds me of, like, did you guys learn to make D's, capital D's in school that look like this? That's what, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be filled in, but that's the shape that it reminds me of when I'm doing it. So you're just going to make kind of like a row of these on your paper. And again, you can make them bigger. You can make them thinner. You'll see as we go along that it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect, right? Because no bird is shaped perfectly. Nature makes it the way that it wants it to be. And that's honestly the great thing about when I choose some of these things to make, is because then if I make a mistake, it's not super like noticeable, because, well, that's just how it works. Because you can kind of make it, you know, look like how you want. Basically, you can refine it. You can fix it, is what I'm saying. So let's do one that's like pointed down, like it's pecking the ground. And if you wanted, you could drop colors in here. There's no reason that you can't. I'm just doing this for simplicity's sake, but you could totally drop different colors in if you wanted. I'll do maybe 2 rows and then we can, you know, move along to the next bit. And I'm sure that the artist that I've took inspiration from has, you know, her very own technique that she enjoys using. This is kind of just how I took it. This is, you know, I saw it and then I kind of just ran with it. I didn't honestly actually watch the, the whole thing, because I don't want to, like, you know, that's her work and I don't want to pretend like I'm trying to do her work. I just want to take inspiration from it. So yeah, that's where we're at. And you could do one maybe that's like looking up, or these could be looking down at each other even. Like if you were doing this to frame it, these guys could be looking at each other, or, you know, looking at the ground towards each other. I didn't intend to do the exact same color pattern, but here we are. Here we are. Here we are. And you can make these bigger if you wanted. Like these are, you know, quite small, but you can find ways to use those in your, you know, art journals or whatever. They don't have to be huge. Let's do another like little plump one. Let's do another plump one. You guys, I like the word plump. I don't know why. I've always liked the word plump. You know, like plump berries, plump chickens, plump babies. Who can say plump and not like the word plump? All right, that'll be good. So I'm gonna dry these with the dryer and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm coming back with my 6 this time. It's just a little bit smaller. And honestly, since it's newer, it has much more of a point. My 8 it's had a lot of love, you guys. Okay, so for this bit, you want these to be all the way dry. Otherwise, when you go to put in the little wings, the colors will kind of merge together and they won't be as crisp, if that makes sense. So let's see, we got green. Sometimes for this one, this is basically going to be like adding another layer, so the color will be darker on its own. But sometimes I will dip in and get straight from my palette because that concentrates it that much more. And I'm just going to twist my brush. I don't know if you can see that. But if you just kind of twist your brush around, that helps you get a really defined point on the end. So what we're going to do now is make the wing. And you can do this. You could have wings, you know, like the same exact shape, just smaller, or more rounded on one side. This is kind of what I call like the embellishment part. So it can be as what, you know, how you like it. So like this one, I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to dip right into my palette so that it can be a little bit darker. And then that's going to be its wing. What do we think? Do we like that? And then you kind of will get into like a assembly line if you make lots of these, because there's a lot of little bits that go into it. Like next, what I would do, since I already have that green color on my brush, I'm going to turn this kind of at an angle so I can get to where I'm going to put the tail. And I'm going to get some more paint on. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, you know how when we've made leaves in the past and we kind of do like point, belly, point. I'm just going to kind of lay down into the belly and then lift up. And it's totally okay if it's not filled in, because I usually come behind myself and fill in the rest. You'll see what I mean. You see how it's like not filled in at all? I'll just come behind myself and kind of round it off. And then that's going to be his tail. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, and then what I would probably do, if I had multiple colors, I would do the same. But since these are in the next row, I don't want to smudge them. So I'm just going to go ahead to the orange. Like I said, you'll kind of get into a feel for what makes the most sense to you on when you're adding stuff. So we're going to do this. Now I'm going to make the feather like, or the wing like that. And then I'm going to turn this. You guess you don't have to turn it. I just find that it's easier for me to do it from that angle. And then well, almost knocked over my water. And like that. And then we got 2 yellow ones. So I'm going to dip into my pans. And let's see, how do we want to do this? Do it that way. The wings really are, you know, you can make them however you want. You could make little ruffles, you know, curly edges to them if you wanted. You figure, like, you pick what makes your heart happy, and then that's what you do. Okay, let's see. Let's finish this row. I don't want to keep you guys here for ages, so maybe we'll do a row and then I can finish these on my own, or we'll see where we're at with time. So the next thing I would do is grab a little bit of orange. I'm going to make their beaks orange. If you would rather have yellow beaks, make them yellow. Red, make them red. For the purposes of this video, they're going to be orange. And it's really just a little tiny triangle on the end of whatever ends up being your, basically the face side, right? The head. So like, since the tail's here, obviously the head is going to be there. So I'm just going to do a little beak. I'm going to do the same thing here. And you can see I put that one kind of like up. And you don't want much water on your brush for this, just because it's so little. And that beak is, that's a very unique shaped beak. And that's fine. Okay, so next I'm gonna put their, I didn't give them tails, you guys. Why didn't you remind me? Jeez, you guys, who was telling me that I forgot the tails? Probably everybody. And you can also just do it like this if you don't want to do it the other way. Just make 3 little round bits. There's that one. That's got a little bit too much water, to be frank. Geez, am I out of the frame? Sorry. If you get too much color, dry your brush off on your paper or your, paper towel or cloth or whatever, and just come in and pick some of it up with a dry brush. There's that. Now we need red. Now we're gonna do the combs and the wattles. You guys know the anatomy of a chicken? The comb is the part on the top of its head, and the wattle is the little dangly bit, on its neck. So I'm going to turn it again. Let me make sure I'm up. Push this back. You guys can see. Okay, and so the comb on the top is going to basically be the same shape as the tail, just much smaller. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3. Like that. And we'll do it again. 1, 2, 3. And you can refine it, if it just looks like one giant blob. Also, when we come in with our black pen, you'll be amazed at how much that will make a difference. Move that. And you can do 3, you can do 2, totally up to you. And then this one, they're going to kind of be over here. That. There. Now they have their little combs. So next they need their wattles. And these are little bitty too. So make sure you're getting your brush to a point. So you're kind of twisting it around so that you have a very, I don't know if you can see it. It's hard for me to see because the light is in my face. But it'll be a pretty fine point. And then you're just going to come right underneath its beak and make like a teardrop. You could make it big if you wanted. You could make it smaller. Chickens in real life, they're all different sizes. There. There's that. Okay. Now this next part, you could do with your black sketch pen, or you could do it with, oh, come on, stay there, with your watercolor. I'm gonna just show you with the watercolor. So I'm gonna dip into my color that's in my pan. You could also use watercolor pencils or colored pencils if you wanted to. Basically, we're gonna be making like what is gonna look like little feathers to look like, you'll see. So I tend to move my paper around a lot for these because the angle is just weird. So you do how it helps you to do it. But we're just gonna come here to like the, what would it be, part of the chicken, maybe like the back, like the neck kind of. And you're just gonna, hold on, hold please. Just gonna kind of press down and make what looks like little wispy bits. And that kind of mimics, at least I think it does. It kind of mimics like that it has bunches and bunches of layers of fluffy down. But like I said, you could also do that with black pen if you wanted. You don't even have to do that part at all. If it doesn't speak to you, don't do it. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here. I don't give these particular ones eyes, but you could give them, you know, a little like half circle eye, maybe with some eyelashes. I like them just kind of basic like this. And for this part, you don't want hardly any water either, because it will just spread out. You want it to be much more, trying to be in frame and be able to do it. Like that. What do we think about that? Hopefully this is making sense. Okay, next, this should all be dry. You don't want to use your pen unless it's all dry, okay? But we're not going to be touching these little bits that I just put on, so I think we should be safe. So now I just come in and do my outline. And if you've watched me do this before, you know that I like to do it kind of willy-nilly, like wobbly kind of. And I usually will go over it twice. So we'll just start with this one. And I like it when it doesn't match perfectly on the lines. To me, that's just how I like it. So there's that bit, and then you come up and do the same for the comb and for the wattle. And then I come in and will outline the feather like that. And if you want to, you could do like a little curly bit there. And then I just add little legs like that. And you just kind of do the same thing. Oh, that looks kind of bad. Okay, and we come up. So see how that red just looked kind of like a undefined blob right there. But you're gonna cut around, if you choose to cut them out, around the black pin. So I don't know, to me it makes sense like that. It kind of gives it more life, if that makes sense. And you could probably give it a little eye if you wanted. I could try it. It's a little eye. And then do the same here. Like that. And we can do the little wing. And we could do a little curly bit. And I suppose you could do these. I suppose you could do the legs. They don't have to like be meeting up there like that. They could be further apart. They could, look, we could do them like the birds, and you could give them little kneecaps. Okay, let's do this one. That, and then we'll come in, do the comb, this little beak, waddle. And then this one, since he's kind of looking down, I suppose I could do it like that. It kind of looks like he's up in the air right now, but that's okay. Let's try this. For this one, maybe we'll go like this. And just give it like a little sleepy kind of eye. That's cute. I kind of like that. Do the same one with this. And I wonder if you could give it little eyelashes. She went a little bit, she used a little bit of mascara, that one. Maybe the eyelashes should be under, not up, because she's... Does that make more sense? Yeah, because your eye... Well, okay. She's maybe had a... Maybe she went out last night. Had a little bit of a, party. Okay, you guys, that's all there is to it. I'll finish those, but let's just cut out a couple. I made these again, like always, on my 90-pound paper. This is Michael's Artist Loft, which is like their brand, very inexpensive. In fact, oftentimes you can get them like buy one, get one free, and that's usually when I stock up, because I go through a lot of it. So we'll just cut these out, and then, but like I said, you don't even need to cut them out. You could just make these all over, in random places on your paper, and that would be cool too. I kind of like that little eye like that. Okay, well, learned something new, didn't we? Didn't I? And then I just fussy cut as fussily as I want. Don't make it, hard on yourself. And if you don't want to fussy cut it, just leave it, cut like little squares around it. I think that's cute too. And you could put it in, your journal or whatever, just like that. Or on the front of a card, even. Maybe you could just paste it on the front of a greeting card, send it to somebody. Say like, hope you're having a clucking great day. Don't say that if you're going to get in trouble. In fact, don't listen to me. I'm a bad influence. Look, there she is. She is cute. So I did meal prep today, and I made chicken fajitas, like just the meat part with peppers and onions. And I put it all in the freezer, so I'll have stuff ready to go when I get home. Right now I'm doing 8:30 to 12:30, which sounds like a breeze. I'm barely hanging on, so if I was doing like a full-time gig, you'd probably find me in the fetal position. Probably even before it was time to go home. Because my brain is like, it's like saturated. Totally saturated. We gave this one knees. And you could make little curly bits down here if you wanted for like their fluffy butt feathers. Because chickens do have lovely fluffy butt feathers. I have, like I said, I have chickens in the backyard. And most often they will get named from family history names. That's just kind of what I've always done. But sometimes the kids want to name them or friends want to name them. So they don't always get that. So right now I have Jenny, who's named after my grandma. Her name actually was Virginia, but they call her Jenny. I have Pearl. I have Blanche. And she's a great big white, beautiful, very voluptuous bird. And I have Hedwig, which actually was my daughter's, and then she moved, and so I took a few of her birds. Who else do I have? I have Glory, and I'm trying to think. How many is that, you guys? I'm not even keeping track. 2 of them don't have names because I got them from the neighbor, and they're like, well, they're exactly the same bird, and so I call them Bossy Bird because they're not very nice. And they pick on all the other birds and make them feel bad about themselves. And so I usually have to give them a talking to every time I go out there. Okay, let me see. I've got Jenny, Pearl, Blanche, Hedwig, Glory. Who am I missing? 2 Bossy Birds. Who's the one I'm missing, you guys? Geez, that's terrible. Don't tell her. Don't tell her I completely forgot about her. I can't even think right now. Now I'm feeling pressured. I can't think about it. I'm trying to visualize. I'm trying to visualize who's left out there. And oh, Jade. Jade. Oh, geez. Yeah, she's gotten in trouble quite a few times too, so it probably is that I'm repressing her name. Okay, look at. These guys don't have eyes. This one, I like that little half eye, like kind of sleepy eye. This one, okay, I put the eyelashes on the top and that doesn't make sense. The eyelashes should be on the bottom, like she's like fluttering, you know, like she's trying to flutter her eyes. To who? I don't know. All right, so that's it. That's this Fodder Friday. Like I said, you can make these larger. You know what I mean? You could make them twice the size of this if you wanted. This is just how they turned out when I did it. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys try them. They're very simple and they're very funny. This one could be like, and I suppose if they could all be like that, if you just angle them. Nah. Okay. All right. That's it. I'll link the artist's name below somehow, wherever I can find her. So you guys can check out her channel too, or her page on Instagram or whatever, because she's fantastic. And that's what we have. If you guys have ideas, I've been getting, people have been sending me suggestions, and that's great because I'm adding them to my list. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, and I'll see you next time.